Mark to bring it. Let's shred, Sharky.
If you decide to get C2 Xilonen, which, once again, let me reiterate, you don't need C2 Xilonen, your Hydro characters may end up starting to do quite a lot more damage. And I do want to emphasize on the word may, because it's not going to affect every single Hydro character in the game. The C2 Hydro buff is plus 45% HP, meaning this is only going to be useful for your HP scaling Hydro characters. If you are a Tortellini main, a Xingqiu enjoyer, or a based Ayato main, unfortunately, you are going to get shafted by this. Not really a whole lot we can do about that. Whereas if you are a Neuvillette main, a Mualani main, someone who likes to use Yelan, hell, even Candace, yes, this is going to be a buff that can affect you in a very surprising fashion. Now, because we don't have that many external Hydro buffs available in the game, it's mainly just Hydro Resonance, C4 Yelan, and now C2 Xilonen, the big question on a lot of people's minds is going to be, what does this actually look like? We're here with Furina, and, well, let's just have a look. Furina currently has 40,000 HP, or 40,500 HP. If I were to then go EN2.
Let's finish this fast.
There we go. And then we just get the hell out of here, we book it! I have 47,386 HP on Furina, because that is basically the idea. It's plus 45% of your base HP. Other HP scalers are going to be seeing rather similar results depending on their build, but you're pretty much going to be seeing something along those lines. And so with a buff like this, I can think of at least 3 teams in particular that are going to really like this buff quite a lot. The first one is, of course, going to be the standard Neuvillette Team. The Neuvillette Team, if you will. A team with 2 Hydro characters that are also typically, you know, HP scalers, Neuvillette and Furina. So both of them are going to be getting that HP buff, as we already saw. Now, the bigger question on my mind with regards to C2 Xilonen is how much of a buff are we actually getting for Neuvillette's damage? Because, you know, Xilonen by herself was already really good in this team, and on top of that, we were doubling down on her kinds of buffs by having Kazuha. And so I wanted to compare C2 Xilonen to essentially C0 Xilonen. Unfortunately, I don't have C0 Xilonen, but I do have Kaz, and Xilonen's buffs and Kaz's buffs have always been rather analogous, so putting C2 aside, yeah, I can use Kaz as a stand-in. So that is why Kaz is going to be one of those tests where he is basically C0 Xilonen. Then we have the C2 Xilonen test to see how much damage we're actually doing there. But then as a third test, I wanted to just put the both of them together, because then we have our normal team. Now, with them both being separate, I'm only using Favj. That way we don't have Peak Patrol Song interfering with the results. But in the final one, I figured I might as well chuck Peak Patrol Song in there so that we can see just what my absolute maximum damage kind of looks like. One thing I want to note as well with regards to Neuvillette's build is that in this team, it seems like HP cups and Hydro cups are pretty much exactly the same in terms of how much power they provide Neuvillette. So I guess whichever one has the better substats is going to be the one that you want to use. Another character that is of course going to be benefiting quite a lot from C2 Xilonen is going to be Mualani. And one thing that someone actually pointed out recently was that it seems like Xilonen's buffs are kind of geared towards the respective Natlan characters of these elements, and when you look at it, it kind of makes a fair bit of sense for the most part. I mean, maybe not the cryo buff, that one's a little bit finicky, but with the exception of that one, yeah, the buffs actually do kind of line up with that idea. And so this in mind, Mualani does in fact go pretty crazy. keep in mind, the crazy high numbers that you are seeing with my Mualani is coming from a level 80 Mualani with Ring of Yaksha, the free-to-play weapon. The free-to-play weapon. And by the way, HP scalers typically want to be level 90 because of how HP scaling works. There is actually a fair bit of a jump between level 80 to level 90, so I've also hamstrung her in that regard. And even then, we're still seeing some absolutely crazy numbers coming out of her very hard-hitting attacks. She's gone basically from quite a fair bit of serotonin to quite a lot of serotonin. And that is basically the crux of Mualani gameplay right there. Serotonin. So yeah, if you're a Mualani player, C2 Xilonen is going to help you out if you decide to go and get it. Finally, one team that I don't know if anyone really thought about with regards to C2 Xilonen is going to be Mono Hydro, because Mono Hydro might actually be the only team that I can think of that actually has 3 Hydro DPSs that are all HP scaling. Yelan, Kokomi, and Furina. Yep. Kokomi mains will play her as a DPS whilst being a healer, and much the same way that C6 Story mains will play her as a healer, who is also someone who does a lot of DPS. And so, with the HP scaling coming from all 3 of these folks, it's a lot of damage. And Xilonen is buffing everyone completely. That's a lot, if you ask me. So I think Mono Hydro is really cool with C2 Xilonen if you decide to go and get her. And so the Kokomi clan, the Kokomi nation, the Kokomi fans, perhaps you may rejoice in getting C2 Xilonen. This might actually be one of those rare occasions where I would probably recommend it just for the hell of it. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. What kind of team are you potentially using your C2 Xilonen in for that Hydro HP % buff? Let me know in the comments. I think I've mostly covered everyone, but I do want to also point out, if you're a Candace enjoyer, then the extra Hydro, or rather the extra HP coming from C2 Xilonen does translate into extra normal attack % from Candace. So there's an idea right there. Alright, otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action, and anything time. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
What a pain. Reckoning. I never asked for redemption. Never.